Good morning and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. From wherever you're joining us from. It's a pleasure to welcome you to yet another Afrinic webinar series. Today's webinar is titled Updating ICP-2, Advancing Internet Number Governance for the Future. And even as we wait for a few people to join the room, it will be nice to hear where you're joining us from. You please use the chat section to tell us where you're joining us from, and we will continue. Thank you. Now, our webinar series today, as I've said before, it is regarding ICP-2 and it's advancing internet number governance for the future. So this webinar stems from previous discussions that started during the just concluded AIS, Africa Internet Summit 2025 in Accra, Ghana. And the team today in the panel and through their presentations, they will be in a position to give us an update on these discussions and help us all flow together. Now, the Afrinic webinar series offers our community an opportunity to engage in dialogue on the current and future landscape of internet accessibility and robustness in Africa. Before we begin, as I've said before, I thank you all for those who've responded. I've seen people from Nigeria, Kenya, Burkina Faso, South Africa, Ghana. Welcome, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Now, quickly into the house rules. I'm certain that most of us are familiar with the Zoom client application, and it is okay, but it doesn't hurt if I just point us to what you will need to use during this webinar. The Q&A section is the place where you put all the questions and all the questions relating to the webinar, and make sure that we will make sure that all questions are read out in the room also for those people who are joining us on the YouTube platform, for them to be able to follow the webinar, and all questions will be answered. So all delegates' comments regarding the webinar, please put this in the chat. This webinar is in English, and the session is recorded simultaneously and transmitted live on the Afrinic YouTube page, where the recording will be archived for your reference. While there, on our YouTube, please be sure to hit follow. And we've been really trying to level up everything we do this year. And the only thing we're ever going to ask you is to hit follow on our social platform. Thank you. Now, finally, this meeting shall abide by the Afrinic Code of Conduct. We expect that we will all be respectful as we engage with other participants in this webinar. The Afrinic Code of Conduct and event terms and conditions are available in the Afrinic website. Please take time to read them. Now, onto the webinar. This session will have all members of the ASO Address Council members. ASO Address Council members, and the panel will include Mr. Harvey Clement, Mr. Andrei Robachevsky, Ms. Constance Berger, and Mr. Maimura Akinori. Now, without any other further ado, I would like to hand the session over to Mr. Clement, and he will take us through the session. Welcome, Mr. Clement.
Thank you, Susan. First of all, so I am happy and I thank my colleagues. So we are 4 from the NRO-NC, so it's another acronym. It's something so we explain during the Africa Internet Summit that makes things not so very easy to have so many acronyms. Finally, for that, the fact is so we are 3 from the RIPE NCC service region, and currently there is a RIPE meeting. And we have Akinori, and for the moment nobody from the Afrinic, but the good news is that there has been an election and the executive board has reached quorum now, and we hope to have a councillor from Africa very soon in the council, and to have somebody in the council so presenting during the next webinar, if any, of course. During that week, there is today the Afrinic webinar. There was during the right meeting what we call a BOF, a bird of feather. It was a discussion regarding ICP-2 as well. And Akinori will explain that there was also an Apinic webinar today. So definitely the webinar we are presenting today for your community, for the Afrinic community, is totally in line in terms of timing, comparing the other. I propose first to make a presentation from us. Not very politely, I will start with me. So I am Hervé Clément from Orange. So that's the reason why you see me often in Africa, because Orange has African affiliates in the continent, and I'm very happy for that. And I am this year the chair of the NRONC, who fulfills the function of the ISO AC. And I will then give the floor to Constance for a presentation. Constance?
Yes, just hello. Thank you for the invitation. And my name is Constance, and I'm a member of the RIPE region. And I'm happy to join this webinar, and I give back to Hervé.
Thank you. Then I give the floor to Andre.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andre. I'm also part of the NRONC from the RIPE region, and very happy to be here, being invited, and I'm looking forward to the discussion about the ICP-2 and a new document that we're working on, the area governance document. Hervé?
Yeah, thank you. And then Akinori.
Thank you very much, Hervé. Hi everyone. My name is Akinori Maemura from APNIC region. I'm living in Japan, in Tokyo, and then really great to see you here. And then thank you for the invitation. I was in Accra for the African Internet Summit, and then I am really happy to be back to the African people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Akinori. So now we will present each of us part of the slides regarding ICP-2 on the current document, which is under consultation now. And then you will have the possibility to ask questions about the presentation we had. Just a remark, and it's a remark we've done during the BOF yesterday in Bucharest for the right meeting. Even if we are part of the NRO-NC, we are part of the community, and we have not a power to detect what is the document finally. We have all, so the community, you and us, we have the same goal to have a document acceptable for everybody. And we are, I would say, just here to collect the outputs from the different consultations. And it's something so we try to do. So we will explain how we do during the presentation. And the only difference we have compared to you is that we have a connection with the different regions. So we have additional difficulty to take into account the outputs from the different regions who have, I would say, their own personality. Coming back to the presentation, so I hope that everybody is able to see the slide displayed on the Zoom. I think so.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. The title of the webinar for the Afrinic region is Advancing Internet Number Governance for the Future. And of course, if we work on ICP-2, is for the future. And I will recall that at the very beginning, the request was to update ICP-2 to strengthen the global system regarding number resources. Then, okay. Just as I say, and it's something, so we repeat during the Africa Internet Summit. Within the ICANN, you have different supporting organizations. There is a CCNSO for the country domain name, the GNSO for the other domain names, I will say, and the ISO for the address, IP address, addressing supporting organization. And the ISO is comprised of two parts, two legs. first, the NRO-EC, that is the set of the CEOs of the different regional interregistries, and the ISO-EC, us, from the community. So the address supporting organization was established by the ICANN, and that was the ICANN, because I have the list of the participants who hide something, to advise on Internet number resource policy. We are normally 15 members, but nobody from the Afrinic currently. I hope it will be fixed very soon. And in each region, 2 are elected by the community, and 1 is appointed by the executive board of the regional Internet registries. What we do, what are our functions, is to advise the ICANN board when we meet, not in all ICANN meetings, but in some ICANN meetings, with the NRO-EC, we meet the ICANN board, and there can be questions from the board to us regarding the number resources issues management. Global policy, we oversee the global policy development process. The global policy is a policy common to all regions and dealing with a link between the IANA, so which is a function within the ICANN dealing with the management of number resources. Global policy deals with the link between the IANA and the different regions. We appoint 2 members to the ICANN board. The directors are for seats 9 and 10. So it's Alan Barrett, everybody knows within the Afrinic, for the seat 9, and Christian Kaufmann, who was the chair of the executive board of the RIPE NCC, for the seat 10. And there is a nominating committee within the ICANN. It's a committee who is in charge of the appointment of different functions within the ICANN, and we appoint 1 member to this committee. It was Louis till this October, and it's, I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of our representative from the LACNIC, who will be part of the nominating committee from October. We meet monthly, do its virtual meetings, and I recall that these meetings are open for everybody except the very closed session, and you can go to the ISO-EC website to see the dates of the different meetings we have. And we try to meet in person once a year, and because ICP-2, so we meet more than once a year the last 2 years. What we did, so recently we conducted the election for seat 10 on the re-election of Christian Kaufmann. We monitor and support the global policy development process. So there is somebody appointed in every region to follow the policy discussion. And one more time, within the Afrinic community, the policy discussion is restarting, which is a very good thing. And big work, and that's the purpose of the slide, is to conduct the ICP-2 review process. Then, because so it's better to see the faces of the people belonging to the NRO-NC, finally, so you have the faces and you can recognize, I hope, us in these pictures. Then, a piece of history. First, in 1992, it was the RIPE NCC that was established for the Europe, Russia, and Middle East, then the APNIC from China, India, etc. In 1997, it was the ARIN for Canada and US, knowing that the ARIN in 1997 dealt with the south of Africa as well. And then after this 3 regional internet registry, it was the ICANN, established in 1998. And in 2001, the ICANN adopted the ICP-2, the first version of the ICP-2. And via this version of ICP-2, the LACNIC was established in 2002, and then the Afrinic in 2005. And at the very beginning, in 2001, the ICP-2 was the list of the criteria to establish a new regional internet registry. As you can calculate very easily, the first version of the ICP-2 was adopted in 2001. So the ICP-2 is nearly 25 years old. Now, as you can imagine, the internet had changed a lot over this last quarter century, and also the relationship between the regional internet registries and the ICANN. And the document ICP-2 that was adopted in 2001 needed to be more explicit because it didn't say explicitly that it can be used for the ongoing course of a regional internet registry. And in a very extreme case, the criteria can be used for a potential recognition of a regional internet registry. But Constance and Andre will go further about that in the next slide. Because of the different reasons, ICP-2 was pretty old. In October 2023, the NROEC, the set of the director of the different region, asked us to help with two tasks. So it was the first ICP-2 implementation procedure. We review this procedure and we advise the NROEC on this draft. So it was a short, I would say, work compared to the update of the ICP-2. On the second task, you heard about a lot, is to strengthen ICP-2 to make the real system more accountable to the internet community. So that's for the internet community in general. After this request from the NROEC, we work, and we finally produced a lot of documents. In October 2024, so it's 1 year after the request from the NROEC, we published a first document which set 24 core principles to be included in the next version of ICP-2. So that was a list of core principles, which was called the principle document. And this document was open to public consultation between October and December 2024. We analyzed the result of this consultation till February 2025. And at the end of February 2025, we publish an ICP-2 questionnaire summary report for that. Then in April 2025, we published this time a more redacted document, I will say, which was called Regional Internet Registry Governance Document, not ICP-2 update. So it's something so we can talk about in terms of naming. And so from April 2025, we launched with the ICANN community consultation. And at the end of August 2025, we published a revised draft of this document, which is called, one more time, Regional Internet Registry Governance Document. And we launched community consultation, and we are in this consultation I am talking about, which will end the 7th of November. QR code, so it's easy to go and to reach the document I told about. The first one, the principal consultation document, so you have here the QR code to read it. Then the first version of the draft regional internet registry governance document you have here. Then, so we have a lot of schemes and something, so to be clear and to see where we are. So we are now, if you see on the bottom, it's a second square from the right. We are in the second public comment on the draft. We hope, so depending of the outputs we will have, to have a final review at the end or the beginning of 2026. And we'll see if it will be possible for the organization that will be in charge of the approval of the document, if there will be an approval and adoption. Okay, and a new QR code is to reach the current document who is under consultation today. And to help you, to help the community to read and understand this new draft, we provided a red line of changes. So it's a document who explicitly says what was removed and what was added. There was another document which is a summary of the changes of rationale. So we explain why we finally take into account some remarks, some outputs to change the document, and we explain why we didn't take into account some comments because it was out of scope of the current document. And there is also a FAQ, and I think this document will help. So regarding the red line of changes, so you have a part of this document. The new part are in blue, the deleted part are in red, and the black one is the part of the document which remains the same. And you have an example of the part of the rational document. So you have the reason why we talk about recognition in the document, but one more time, Constance and Andre will go into that after my part. And I think that's the last slide I have to comment. Another QR code, because we love QR code. It's to go to the consultation, and definitely your feedback is vital. We need your feedback. Even if you agree and you support the document, it's very important for us to hear that you support the document. You have a specific mailing list for the Afrinic, so you can send your comments, so don't hesitate to do. And of course, but it will be said, we request that the comments you add and you propose are very constructive and help us to advance in the document. And there is, in parallel, the ICANN public comment, which will end at the same date, November. And I think it's the end of my comments from me, and I give the floor to Constance. Thank you very much.
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you, Abe, for these words. Very, very important to know the background of our work. And I want to engage the community as well to bring in your comments. It's very necessary. We love your input. Thank you for this. So what we did in the last period, so we revised the first version of the ARIA governance document. And our ARIA governance document represents a detailed update to the original draft with the overarching goal to strengthening the ARIA system. So that's really important, and we got a lot of comments. We internally in the ACAC group, we produced a lot of slides and Excel files, and we clustered the comments, we prioritized the comments, and we fitted in the new document. So these updates were based on your input. The key change, the short overview, we changed a bit the title of the document. We extended the preamble. We explained the goals of the document, what the document stands for, and what not is included in the document. It's also important. We added some implementation procedure references. A reference to separate implementation procedures document that may provide further implementation details on any obligation. Next slide, please.
Sorry, it was me.
Yes. So we have some key changes regarding to the recognition and derecognition, and in further detail, Andre will explain a bit. Additional protection in recognition and derecognition procedures for affected areas. We included the possibility of a candidate area to be recognized unless than the anonymous approval of the existing area. We have new new parts for audits and proposal for audits, new criteria for area members or ICANN to request ad hoc audits to trigger a proposal for this. And we have emergency continuity, new emergency continuity procedures to temporary transfers and area responsibilities to an emergency operator. This is really new in this document. Next slide, Abby, please.
Yes. No, it was not. Okay.
Okay, many community members had a lot of concerns about a very strong role of ICANN. And so we have this slide to explain ICANN's role. ICANN just have not unalliterary recognize or derecognize power to do this for any area or initiate emergency continuity procedures. So I can just trigger proposals to initiate a proposal to derecognize an area or to initiate an ad hoc audit of an area. In the recognition process, if the candidate area requests a review, ICANN must appoint a qualified independent third party to review the proposal for recognition. So you see ICANN's role, it's not really heavy, it's just for trigger. Next slide, please. So I hand over for the next slide to Andre. Thank you.
Thank you, Constance, and hi everyone again. So let's dive into more details of this document. And again, if you need really more details, really advise you to read the document itself, the red line version, and the summary of changes and rationale for additions. Could be very helpful. So as Constance mentioned, there's some, well, maybe minor changes in the title, but it's the title, so we thought it's important to highlight. So we changed the maintenance to operation because we thought that's better reflects the actual role of the registries in maintaining, operating the registry. And next slide, please. A more substantive change is the Hervé, could you roll back one slide, please?
Yes, sorry.
Right, so a more substantive changes in the preamble. And if you read the previous version of the document, preamble was very short, and it basically was just introduction to the document, what the document was talking about. But we got a lot of feedback, and I have to say that most of the changes in the version 2 of the document are the results of the feedback we got from the communities and African community including. So we got feedback that it was very important to set the right context for the document itself, because the system, the area system, it's quite unique. It's not totally hierarchical where ICANN at the top and then areas as subordinates to ICANN. It's really bottom up where authority originates at the community level, and areas act as a pretty independent organizations. So understanding this, we thought very important, and highlighting this in the preamble was very important, because then you understand there may be some complexity in the processes that outlined when we talk about recognition or derecognition. So preamble, we hope, and we again ask for your feedback, we hope that this preamble sets the right context in which you can read and understand the document. Next slide, please. Again, many of the feedback we got was about asking for details. What are exactly the parameters the area will be audited on? What are exactly criteria for, or not criteria, but the metrics for recognition, how you measure impartiality, how you measure community support. Important questions, but our goal was to maintain the document at a high level, right? So it sets the boundary conditions, but it doesn't go into real implementation details. And implementation details are to be further worked out in what we call implementation procedures. And this is now explicitly referenced in the document. So they're supposed to be follow-up procedures that will complement the document, which we call implementation procedures that will make the whole work complete. Next slide, please. Now, well, let's go into the two important processes: recognition and derecognition, or phases of the area life cycle. We hope that this diagram explains the process much better than the document itself, but again, I advise you to refer to the document. One thing that has changed, and I think that's a significant change, is that we got some feedback, quite significant feedback from the community, that unanimous support may be counterproductive. There may be conditions under which areas cannot act unanimously for whatever reason, or there may be some conditions where area may not sort of have a fully, fair judgment, because their services might be affected by the recognition of a new area. Well, you can imagine that maybe an area is operating in the same service region that another area, so there may be some conflict of interest involved. The process was amended by suggesting a recognition review. That's a new phase in the recognition process. So if approval goes unanimously, there is no change. It goes straight to the ICANN decision, and the area is recognized. But if there is no unanimity, then, or if there is not agreement with the recognition, and one area is against the recognition, then the process goes into recognition review. Next slide, please. So I think that explains what I just said in the words. And we hope that this amendment of the procedure addresses the concern that area could object to recognizing a new area for inadequate or illegitimate reasons. So for this, let's look more detail at this review phase. Next slide, please. So recognition review, and this is on the condition when one area is dissenting and they are not willing to recognize a new area. In this case, an independent third party will be called to conduct an impartial independent review of the reasons that were submitted by this area. And if it is, if this independent party will figure out that, yeah, there was some maybe not fair judgment, or some of the reasons were not really strong or legitimate, then there will be a reconsideration phase where all the areas will be offered again to reconsider their position and maybe reach unanimity. If that is still not the case, then the area that is rejected from the recognition or candidate area may request another review, under which if the same independent party will conclude that after the reconsideration phase, the area reasons are still inadequate or illegitimate, then this opinion of the dissenting area may be overridden, and therefore that will create a condition where area is recognized without full unanimity. And again, that goes to ICANN decision to ratify this. Now, as Constance said, ICANN decision, it's more looking at the process, whether the process was well formed, while the actual decision on the recognition, and the same will apply to their recognition, is done by the areas. It might be a subtle note, but I'd like also to mention that there is no such thing as voting per se. Each area acts independently, reviews the proposal, and submits recommendation. That's how it works here, right? Might be considered voting, but I would like to say that unanimity here is meant in this context, that all areas submit positive recommendation, for instance. That would mean unanimity. Next slide, please. The recognition. Well, again, this is a picture of the process. On the process side, there were not much changes. The process is pretty straightforward, and this process still requires unanimity. So there should be unanimous agreement among the area, well, minus the area that is subject to derecognition, on on actually derecognizing an area. That's a very significant step, and it has to be taken very, very seriously. However, there were some changes in the process. Next slide, please, Arbe. So, okay. All right. Yeah, that's the slide. Thank you. So we strengthened the criteria for the derecognition proposal. You can't just throw this over the wall and suggest that the area is derecognized. It should contain full rationale and details why and for what reasons the proposal is to derecognize the area. So against those things, the proposal will be evaluated. There is an added opportunity for an affected area to publicly respond in writing. And in general, the whole process, we try to make it as transparent as possible, so the community can also sort of follow up and review that, how well the judgments were made and how fair the whole process is. Next slide, please. In the previous version, the areas could initiate a derecognition process. There was some feedback, and we responded this by adding that the members of the area that may not be performing well may trigger the recognition proposal. And for this, we suggested two thresholds. One is 2,000 members or 25% of the membership, whatever is lower. The reason for this is that the definition of a member is different in different areas, right? And we didn't want to stick to resource holders per se, because that's the governance structure. So that's why we came up with these two metrics that will create a more sort of common denominator among all the areas. The document also allows ICANN to trigger the recognition process. I have to stress here that this doesn't mean the recognition. That only means who can initiate the process, who can trigger the proposal, right? Still, what I said on the previous slide, the rationale, the details of the proposal have to be submitted. So not be just, well, bad feeling about the area, I submit the proposal. It should be well founded and grounded. Thank you. Next slide, please. Okay, now audits. So derecognition, that's the ultimate result, and hopefully will never come to that way. The idea is prevention, of course, and to be able to recognize some of the maybe growing problems earlier, the document suggests audits. And there are two types of audits that is outlined in the document. There are regular audits and there are ad hoc audits. Regular audits, it sets the rhythm, right? And it's every 3 years, each area has to be audited by independent third party. So we provide this more specifics in documents saying, well, it's 3 years, and that is to ensure that the problems are identified early on. It might be a bit costly, and 3 years may seem short, but I think that was the sort of the number of years we came up balance between the costs and resources involved, and also how quickly some maybe negative things can develop, so we can catch up them earlier. Next slide, please. There is also another type of audit. There might be a situation where we face a problem, right? We recognize all of a sudden there is a problem, and therefore an ad hoc audit is required. Again, there are two thresholds that I mentioned before. Who can trigger this audit? It's similar to derecognition process or proposal. Again, other areas by majority can ask for an ad hoc audit for another area. And again, members of an area can say, hey, we would like to audit this area, and therefore they can trigger. And again, ICANN can trigger that process as well. Next slide, please. Emergency continuity, that's a completely new section. And again, in response to requests by the community to ensure that the document looks at the continuity of the operation of the whole registry system. In the case of disasters, and that may be natural disasters, this kind of stuff. So emergency continuity should not be confused with derecognition, and we try to make it very clear. So it's a mechanism to be prepared for disaster. So in case, I don't know, force majeure, anything, area cannot operate, cannot fulfill their functions for whatever reason, there is an opportunity to temporarily transfer that functionality to another place. And that another place is what is called emergency operator. That's a very important and strong case. So it requires unanimous agreement among the areas and ICANN. It is time limited. It is 90 days. It can't stay longer. It can be prolonged, but it requires additional decision. So again, we try to make it very clear and put safeguards that it cannot even sleep in the recognition, right? And it's clearly for another purpose, so to say. Next slide, please. There's some protections I mentioned. So one thing is the rationale. So ICANN must publish rationale and scope of emergency continuity, so everyone is aware what's going on and why this emergency procedure has kicked off. Limitation, as I mentioned, 90 days, that's the limit. It could be renewed, but that's a formal and explicit renewal. It can just renew by default. And there is a post-mortem. So we need to learn the lessons, all of us, to ensure resilience of the global internet number resource distribution system. So again, let me repeat what we did in this document. We ensure that this cannot become, or it's not confused with recognition process. And we try to make the whole thing as transparent as possible, but also lessons learned be incorporated in this whole process. So we become stronger, we become more resilient, even if bad things happen to the system. Next slide, please. Well, there are other important changes. We just couldn't group them into one single category. One is rectification. So when amendments are introduced to this document, right, it makes maybe some of the area non-compliant for some period of time. And of course, some period of time need to be given to areas that are not compliant to fix this problem. There was some suggestion from the community on specific times, but also suggestions that, of course, the grace period, what we call time to rectify, time to become compliant, depends on the actual change that is introduced. Some of the changes might be simple to fix, maybe they even not affect any compliance issues, but some of them, they require more work on the area part. Like this introduction of this document, when it's rectified, it is a big change. And it's quite possible that it will take time for the areas to get their processes in order and to make themselves compliant with the new version of ICP-2, which is now called Area Governance Document. So in this case, the grace period is, following this recommendation, it is discussed and suggested as part of this amendment. And we are suggesting 3 years. So each area will be given 3 years to become fully compliant with the new Area Governance Document. Next slide, please. Dispute resolution. And again, this is something for catching problems early and not escalating this to a problem that some of us experience. Dispute resolution is very important. Again, based on your feedback, that is the one of the criteria that for the operation of the area, that areas need to have a dispute resolution process that is fair and effective, that allows to resolve problems arising between the members and the area quickly and smoothly. Next slide. And I think that's, and oh yeah, good faith. Oh, that's a very important thing. Well, first of all, I mean, I think the document assumes cooperative, operation between the area. The system, in fact, is based on coordination and cooperation. So that is very important. Good faith here also means that there is no undue delay in responding. There are some phases, right? So we assume that every of the areas is acting in good faith and they will respond timely, and that is important. Next slide, please. Right. So while this is a reminder, your feedback is very important. We already got some feedback, and Akinori will talk briefly about that after I finish. We already got some feedback from different meetings that we're conducting, including the African Internet Summit. There was good discussion, good feedback. It's recorded, so really appreciate. We hope that this webinar also stimulates more feedback. Please use this mailing list to send your feedback. We'll discuss some of the feedback here at this call as well. But also, please send this to the mailing list so it's very transparent. We can get more ideas from you and improve the document further. With this, thank you very much, and I hand over to Akinori.
Thank you very much, Andrei, for the detailed explanation of the revision points. So we are now running the consultation period for the each regions. This week the RIPE meeting is going on, and they've already had the consultation session. I actually had the APNIC webinar in early hour today. So these kind of these consultation we will have we had, and we will have the feedback, and they are all recorded and then being brought to our consideration, and then for us to consider the revision of the next version. We had the consultation session as well in the Africa Internet Summit in September, and we had a quite good consultation session. At the time, Elbe made his part of presentation in French, and then we had some comments and questions from the floor. For example, there is some pointing out the ICANN's ability to kick off the ad hoc audit, and the question about the difference of the consequence by the who kick off. Then it's actually the ICANN's ability to kick off the ad hoc audit is addressing the concern to address the concern quickly, and then for the difference, there's no difference because the three party can kick off the audit by audit, but the audit will be conducted by the ICANN. Another comment shows that the too many revision points may introduce other vulnerabilities. So it is a concern for the amount of the revision. And then the comment pointing out that it's nearing the implementation. But this comment is well heard. But actually, we will have the many aspects which will be clarified in the implementation. I raised the example of the APNIC case where we have the National Internet Registry, which is the sub-regional registries. So APNIC will have a lot of implementation aspect involved there. So I actually from the NIL, then I'm actually really, anxious about the workload for that. But to this point, we have the a lot of things to do in the implementation, and then this level of the policy at the ICP-2 level is for us to seen as the appropriate. So and the emergency operators, as Andrei explained, is not so prescriptive. Again, this is the implementation. That was a comment, and then we think that it's implementation matters as well as the point previous point. And the last but not least, the 3-year grace period applied for the all level of the operation from the governance level to the allocation level. That's well heard about this concern, and then that would be maybe one of the consideration point for our discussion. That's from the EIS. Thank you very much for the listening. And then I think I should put over to Elbe for some open mic discussion. Elbe, thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you all of you for this very clear presentation and comments. We have only 10 minutes of discussion after the webinar, but it was a lot to say about this document. I try when sharing the document, and I will stop the sharing, to read the chat, and there was only one comment regarding, no, there are two now. Portability, but the answer we say is that portability. So we had the transfer also possible within the region. For that, if somebody can add something about this question of portability, and so there is also Paul Yud say that is 3 years really an adequate expectation for ARIN to comply. I don't know why ARIN particularly. Alain Levin, there was almost nothing about the content. So we spoke about the content of the document. Perhaps I don't understand the question. I have my hand up for half the seminar. It's extremely disappointed. There was nothing about how this affects Afrinic. But I say that this document is not for particularly the Afrinic, but it was for the global system, even if everybody knows that Afrinic faced a lot of issues this last years. And I think I read all the comments on the questions. So that was my first answer, but if my colleagues want to complete what I said. Andre.
Yeah, maybe to respond to this comment on number portability and transfers. The document, in this document, the number resource policy and that have a number resource policy development process is completely out scope. So issues that can and should be addressed through the policy development process in respective communities, that is not governed by this document, that's governed by the policy development processes that are adopted and developed in respective communities. That's why you don't see those things in this document.
Hervé, I'm afraid you're
Hervé,
muted.
you're muted.
You're totally right. So from Venant Paranga, given African continental reach and the linguistic diversity of its member, I believe, and there was another comment just after, I believe it is important to systematically provide an interpretation service for this type of important subject. So the question of the different language and how to reach effectively all the part of a community is something so we discuss constantly. In the document, we say that English is the official language, but it's up to the regionality and registry to provide interpretation in the different language of the specific region as well. Alain Levin, nothing about how to deal with looting, fraud, and all the things we have seen happening in the regionality and registries. So I understand your comment. What we say? So what we saw, so within the Afrinic, so there have been a lot of lessons learned for that. The document, I would say, doesn't tend to ask to answer all the questions, but we take into account your remark, of course, because it's a very important one. So it was Pauline repeating that if ARIN are not compliant, then the document will be toothless, and therefore the question is simple: consider the most problematic regional internet registry and ask whether the compliance window introduced will be able to be met by that regional internet registry. So what's the question also of the question of consensus? Just about the processes, how it was made, and who buy and how to join the mailing list, and how it was presented, waste of time. Okay. Could you please, so Gary Abdel, could you please clarify how the proposed ICP-2 update will practically affect Afrinic's current recognition and operational framework? Okay, so it's more about specifically Afrinic, but one more time, so it was not, so the Afrinic was not the very focus of the document, but Andre, you have your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Hervé. I was referring to Paul's question about the ARIN. So the thing is, that's exactly the feedback we expect. So if you think that 3 years is inadequate, but we would like to hear from you more details why you think ARIN may not be compliant over the 3 years. I have to say, if the document is adopted, and that should be adopted by unanimous support by all the areas and ICANN, but that also means commitment. So if ARIN ratifies, adopts the document, there is a commitment from ARIN's side to be compliant in 3 years. But if you have sort of reasons to believe that's not the case, or they might have a problem, we'd love to hear from you. So please provide more details. And I want to reiterate again what Hervé said, that, well, Afrinic was never derecognized, of course, right? So the document per se doesn't solve the situation for Afrinic right now, but I think it ensures that such situation will not happen in the future, not for Afrinic, not for any area. So it makes the systems more stable. Again, if you don't believe that there are enough safeguards in the document outlined, such as dispute resolution, such as audit, such as the governance structure, please make your suggestions, because really we are getting the knowledge and experience from you, right? We can do only so much by ourselves. So thank you.
Thank you, Andre. So Suzanne, you say that we can extend for 10 minutes so that we don't lock out anyone, and that's very important. Thank you, Suzanne, for that. So if I miss some question, it's because our questions are adding. So sometimes there is some steps in the way I read the different comments. So it's not very easy sometimes. So if I forgot something, don't hesitate to say I forgot. It could be totally my fault, and it was absolutely not on purpose. Kennedy Ozike, resilient numeric system depends on two things: mobility of resources and accountability of institution. That's why I support adding both an inter-regional interface reportability requirement and a member trigger review mechanism. So the framework stays open, balanced, and self-correcting. So one more time, thanks for the comments. So about portability, we answered that. And about the member trigger review mechanism, generally we try to make the community in terms of role as important as it has to do also. So we take into account your comment as well. Another remark about portability, I think, from Edet Onionio. Sorry if I misspell and mispronounce the name. One more time, it's not on purpose, just as phone numbers. Okay, so it was Suzanne, so proposing to extend 10 minutes. And Val Peterson, to enhance operational constituency, I recommend inserting a clause under Article 4.1, mandating inter-regional internet registry portability for both IPv4 and IPv6. Each regional internet registry should implement transport process allowing holders to migrate the address space between region and network with minimal administrative friction. So we are also in the thematic of the portability. Thank you for the comments. Abdelatif Fadin, it will be beneficial for the community to converge on a shared expectation on number portability. Okay, so we are still in this topic. Okay. Hendrik Visage, how many organizations actually move their operational, IDEST, physical server, etc., that would require internet portability? We are still in the same topic. Adewale Johnson, members deserve an avenue to trigger oversight when governance drift, of course. A member-initiated compliance review activated by a modest petition threshold will ensure that regional internet registry remain answerable to their community without the drastic step of derecognition. And one more time, so we speak about derecognition, but of course, so I will say that derecognition is not the things we wish particularly to happen. So I want to be very clear about that. Constance, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you all for the whole community for all your questions. They are all justified, but it's really fast. So we need a bit time to clarify your question and to cluster your question again. So I have the question to you. Would you please bring this up for the mailing list? We mentioned a mailing list, and this was very nice. If you bring this in this mailing list in the format, then we can handle this in a better way and to bring it up in our system, and then we can work on it in a better way. Otherwise, we haven't not so much time to answer in this session now. Thank you.
Thank you, Constance, for this practical remark. Adewale Johnson, so I mentioned the comment. And even if we go fast during the comment, so be sure that we will read them carefully after that and take them into account, for sure. So Paul Huge, so your answers about the 3 years. I don't think 3 years is too much. What I'm concerned about is that the extent regional international history, they will say they are not on board with this and they're not complying, continue to misbehave. I appreciate the difficulty which the author of the document fundamentally experienced, but it feels far too little regard is given to the fact that the regional international history must attain high governance standards with proper regard for rule of law. So it's a question you have. So regarding the fact that perhaps regional international history could not comply to the principle of the document. So it's something so we read. Thank you. It's Gotha Rafalo. In the spirit of practical reform, it's time to harmonize our regional international history under both mobility and oversight. Let's make IP addresses portable across all regions and give members a structured process to raise governance concerns. The steps will modernize the framework while preserving its stability. So one more time, it's about portability, very well noted. And Hendrik Visage, the only needs I've seen for interregional industry is company that for instance, for IDEST, buy in Africa, then that resells it elsewhere. Okay, well noted, one more time. A question in the count. So Susan, what do you want to say with that?
We have a question in the Q&A.
As the Q&A, okay, sorry, it's and, but it was a stick to the queue. Okay. If you can read the question in the Q&A, please, Susan.
Okay.
Okay.
The question is from Bello Usmanjada. He says, I had some distractions during the presentations. Can you please explain the 25% derecognition in the presentations?
Perhaps I can give you the floor, Andre, to repeat. So because it was you who say about that.
Right. So I think that's not the 25%, but it's 25% of the membership. It is 25% of the membership, or 2,000, whatever is lower. That was the thresholds that were introduced. So to explain to you that different areas, they have different definitions of members, and depending how you define the members, if you just say the members, you may get different numbers for different areas, disproportional numbers, if you just specify percentage of the membership. That's why we introduced another metric, which is 2,000 member. So if your 25% is higher than 2,000 members, then the lower number will count. So 2,000 members, that's the minimum that you need to get in that case to trigger the recognition proposal or to trigger the ad hoc audit. I hope I made myself more clear.
Thank you, Andre. Coming back to the chat, Emmanuel Vitus, on Article 5, why limit emergency continuity to technical failures? Shouldn't governance crisis also trigger it? So it's something so we can consider also. Andric Visage. So I don't see ICP-2 to enforce inter-regional registry transfers. I will say that inter-regional registry transfer is a policy developed by the community. So we are not specifically in the I will say the focus of the ICP-2 also. Lita Soziwe propose additional to Article 4.1, one more time. Each regional registry shall implement and maintain policy ensuring the portability. So one more time, so we are in the portability concept. Such policy should be transparent, non-discriminatory, and coordinated globally. Complementary clause, each regional registry shall maintain a member-initiated compliant mechanism. Okay, so we have the same remarks. Thank you. Emmanuel Vitus, on accountability, can we make crisis situation automatically trigger stronger community oversight and review? So that's a question. Also, very well noted. Madvi Goko, the mailing list that was set up to receive feedback from the African community is, so you complement the remark from Constance asking people to go to the African mailing list. But one more time, so the question on the remark in the chat will be taken into account also. So Madvi, so you solicited the link. Mohamed, my opinion is that ICP-2 has been essential for regional internet governance. My question is, what mechanism exists to make sure that the implementation of ICP-2 remains transparent and inclusive for all stakeholders? Okay, very well noted. So we try to do our best, but if the question is raised, so we can have so this question into consideration. Dimalare Adebanjo, if a company moves its operation or changes network, it should have to surrender its IP space. Each generating registry should cooperate to make such transfer smooth and fair. At the same time, members should have a clear perhaps I jump a question. It was I will read the question, sorry. Okay.
Hervé, may I respond while you're reading the question to Mohammed question about how to ensure transparency of ICP-2 implementation? So I think that's a very interesting question. I would just like to clarify. So one thing that in the document itself, there are some safeguards that request for transparency, right? So for instance, audit reports, I think there's some transparency there. All the decisions and how decisions are made is transparent. There are also implementation procedures that are referenced. So could you please clarify whether you mean the ICP-2, well, the area governance document, the transparency controls there, or you really mean how the implementation procedures will be implemented or developed and published?
Thank you, Andre. And so there are a lot of questions that appear now. So what I propose, so we are now at the 10-minute additional proposed by Susan, is not that we don't want to answer all the questions, but there are a lot of questions. If so, the answer you heard today is not the more complete answer we could provide, be sure that we will come back to all the comments here from the chat, and we will so analyze this as they merit, of course. Andre, you want to add something?
Yeah, maybe to add to what you just said, that we are in many cases we are not able to provide answers because that's feedback that might need to be incorporated in the document. So that's why what Constance suggested, that it's very important that this feedback is recorded. We are trying to clarify the rationale why those things were addressed as they now, right? But they may not satisfactorily answer your question. So please, that's what we hope. Let's continue the discussion and make the document better.
Thank you. So I give the floor now to Susan, and really I thank because there was a lot of participants during this webinar, which is a very good thing, and a lot of remarks in the chat, which is a very good thing also. So thank you to everyone for that, really. Susan.
Okay. Thank you all. Thank you to all our panelists and the presenters today. For me, is just to thank us all for participating. This will be recorded and will be archived on the Afrinic YouTube, as well as immediately after this webinar, all participants and registrants will be in a position to get the presentations and the link to the recording. So without further ado, I would like to thank us all for participating in this webinar and wish us all a good day and a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye.